She sat freezing at the bus stop in a wheelchair until a single dad whispered, "Come with me." It was one of those nights when the cold seemed to cut straight through bone. The streets were quiet, except for the occasional rush of cars. At the bus stop, beneath the flickering streetlight, a young woman sat hunched in her wheelchair, shivering. Her coat was thin, her hands clutched tight around herself, and the bus schedule pinned to the pole seemed almost mocking. No bus was coming for another hour. Her name was Emily. Life hadn't been kind to her lately. She had lost her parents young, battled through a spinal injury, and was now struggling to make ends meet. Tonight, she was coming back from a part-time job interview that hadn't gone well. Rejected again, she didn't even have enough for a cab. All she could do was wait, even though the freezing wind made her teeth chatter and her lips pale. Just across the street, a man named Daniel was walking with his 7-year-old daughter, Sophie. They had just left a small diner, Sophie's laughter echoing against the empty sidewalks, but then Sophie stopped, her bright little eyes fixed on Emily, sitting alone in the dark, shaking from the cold. "Daddy," Sophie whispered, tugging on his sleeve, "why is that lady sitting out here like that? She looks so cold." Daniel glanced over. At first, he thought it was just another passer-by waiting for the bus, but as he looked closer, his heart sank. He saw the wheelchair, the way Emily tried to rub warmth into her hands, the loneliness etched into her face. "Come on, sweetheart," he murmured, trying to gently lead Sophie forward, but Sophie didn't budge. She tilted her head and said words that stopped Daniel in his tracks. "Daddy, if Mom were here, she'd tell us to help her." Daniel froze. His wife had passed away 2 years ago, and Sophie rarely brought her up. But when she did, it was always in moments like this, moments when kindness was needed most. He sighed, looked at his daughter, then at Emily, and then he knew he couldn't just walk away. They crossed the street slowly. Emily looked up, startled, as the father and daughter approached. "Ma'am," Daniel said softly, "you look really cold out here. Are you waiting for someone?" Emily gave a faint smile, trying to hide her trembling lips. "The bus, but it won't be here for a while." Sophie stepped forward before Daniel could speak. "You can come with us. Daddy makes the best hot cocoa in the world." Emily blinked, stunned by the little girl's innocence. She didn't want to be a burden, but the truth was she could barely feel her fingers anymore. I don't want to trouble you," she whispered. Daniel knelt down slightly, so he was eye level with her. His voice was steady but kind. "Sometimes accepting help isn't weakness, it's strength. Please, let us give you a warm place for tonight." For the first time in a long while, Emily felt tears sting her eyes, not from sadness, but from the unfamiliar feeling of being seen, of being cared for. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. Daniel pushed her chair gently, Sophie skipping beside them as they headed toward his modest apartment just a few blocks away. Inside, the warmth wrapped around Emily like a blanket. Sophie giggled as she handed Emily a steaming mug of cocoa, piled high with marshmallows. The three of them sat together at the small kitchen table, and as they talked, Emily learned that Daniel was a single dad working 2 jobs to care for Sophie. And Daniel learned about Emily's struggles, her injuries, her endless job rejections, her loneliness. What surprised both of them was how natural it felt to share, as though they weren't strangers at all, but people meant to cross paths. That night, something unexpected happened. Emily, who had felt invisible for so long, was reminded she still mattered. And Daniel, who often carried the heavy weight of raising Sophie alone, realized his daughter's simple compassion had opened a door not just for Emily, but for their own hearts as well. Weeks later, Emily found a steady job through a connection Daniel helped her make. Slowly, she rebuilt her life, and though she lived on her own, she often visited Daniel and Sophie, bringing cookies, laughter, and warmth. One winter evening, as snowflakes fell outside, Sophie hugged Emily tightly and whispered, "You're part of our family now." Emily smiled through tears. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was just surviving. She felt like she belonged. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness, a child's whisper, a father's decision to stop, can change the entire course of someone's life. Compassion is contagious, and in a world that can feel cold and lonely, It only takes one moment of courage to turn a stranger into family.